Have you ever looked at someone in power and wondered, how did they get there? We've all witnessed it, an utterly incompetent individual rising to the heights of authority while far more capable people remain in the shadows. Think of history's infamous Emperor Nero, fiddling as Rome burned, or the recent case of Elizabeth Holmes, whose multi-billion-dollar startup collapsed under the weight of deception. But what if this isn't just happenstance? What if there's a twisted logic that explains why the least qualified often wield the most influence? Today, we're diving deep into the mind of Niccolo Machiavelli, one of history's most controversial political philosophers, to unravel the brutal truth behind why stupidity and power so often walk hand in hand. Machiavelli didn't concern himself with how leaders should behave in an ideal world. He focused instead on the gritty reality of power, how it actually works. A common misconception is that intelligence alone is a ticket to leadership. Yet, modern research suggests otherwise. Sometimes being too smart actually acts as a barrier to gaining power. The cognitive illusion known as the Dunning-Kruger effect shows that those with limited knowledge tend to overestimate their abilities, while true experts often downplay their competence. As we dissect Machiavelli's insights, we'll uncover uncomfortable truths about the interplay between perception and reality. In our complex world, the loudest voice often becomes the most influential voice, regardless of the wisdom behind it. Can we navigate a system that seems rigged against genuine merit and ethics? Or must we learn to accept that sometimes it's not the smartest, but the most confident who come out on top? Join me as we explore how Machiavelli's ideas resonate in our contemporary landscape, and what that means for the future of leadership and ethics. Prepare to challenge your understanding of power dynamics and discover how to rise above incompetence in your own pursuits of influence. Machiavelli and the perspective on power. Niccolo Machiavelli, one of the most renowned figures in political philosophy, left a lasting mark not only through his writings, but also by opening up heated debates about power and ethics. Living during a time of division and chaos in Italy, Machiavelli's experiences deeply influenced his views on politics. Rather than pursuing lofty ideals, he was a meticulous observer of how power truly operates. In his most famous work, The Prince, Machiavelli does not shy away from the stark reality that in the political sphere, good and evil are not always black and white. He asserts that to maintain power, leaders may have to resort to what he calls moral flexibility. He conveys this idea in arguably his most famous line, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Rather than promoting a message of kindness or righteousness, Machiavelli emphasizes that achieving effective governance often requires navigating morally ambiguous terrain. The importance of perception, one of the central themes in Machiavelli's thought, is the significance of image and reputation in leadership. He argues that people judge not by what they see, but by what they think they see. This leads to a harsh but crucial reality. Sometimes projecting the image of being a competent leader can be more important than actually being competent. A leader can create a strong impression through confidence and decisiveness, regardless of whether they genuinely possess those qualities. Machiavelli understood that public perception is often shaped by presentation, rather than by nuanced truths. In the 16th century, information traveled slowly, and the way one communicated their ideas could make a significant difference in maintaining authority. Strong leaders have the ability to skillfully craft their images to gain advantages, even if reality doesn't fully support those claims. Psychological aspects. Another intriguing element of Machiavelli's perspective is the relationship between intelligence and power. Time and again, it has been observed that those who are genuinely intelligent often face challenges in ascending to leadership positions. This connects to a psychological phenomenon known as the Dunning-Kruger effect, where less competent individuals tend to overestimate their abilities, while true experts frequently underestimate themselves. Machiavelli would likely perceive this as a strategic model, where arrogance can propel the unqualified to higher spheres of influence. Incompetent leaders often surround themselves with advisors who are even less capable to avoid being overshadowed. This creates an ecosystem where ignorance is nurtured and expanded, leading to catastrophic decisions. Machiavelli advises that a leader should be vigilant in selecting their inner circle, as the effectiveness of those around them can determine their success or failure. Machiavelli's power dynamics. Machiavelli emphasizes that achieving power may require employing unscrupulous methods, which may be unsettling for some. However, he does not simply advocate becoming a ruthless leader. Instead, he encourages a keen understanding of power dynamics, illustrating a harsh yet realistic narrative about how the world operates. Ultimately, Machiavelli is not just a political theorist. He is a prognosticator of why the unqualified can ascend to positions of authority. His perspective remains valuable today as we continue to grapple with questions of ethics in leadership and how power is truly wielded. In exploring Machiavelli's ideas, it's crucial to recognize the tension between practical politics and moral integrity. His insights challenge us to confront uncomfortable truths about who thrives in leadership roles, and they compel us to reflect on our own values and the systems that elevate certain individuals, regardless of their worthiness. The fading line of ethics in leadership. As we delve deeper into Machiavelli's perspective, one of the most striking themes that emerges is the concept of ethics, or the lack thereof, in leadership. In an age where political and corporate leaders often prioritize power over principles, Machiavelli's pragmatic advice offers a lens through which to understand the erosion of ethical boundaries. He posits that maintaining authority may, at times, necessitate actions that stray far from ethical behavior. This idea leads us to question the very nature of leadership today. Machiavelli famously stated, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." This stark dichotomy encapsulates his belief that fear, rather than love or respect, can be a more effective tool for a leader. Many contemporary leaders echo this sentiment, emphasizing short-term outcomes over long-term ethical considerations. The case of former CEOs like Elizabeth Holmes, whose unethical practices ultimately led to the collapse of her company, the Renaults, highlights how the pursuit of power and prestige can overshadow core ethical principles. Holmes portrayed herself as a visionary, only to be revealed as a deceiver, driven by ambition rather than integrity. Furthermore, the fading line of ethics in leadership can often be traced to broader systemic issues. Structural factors within organizations frequently reward those who prioritize results above ethical standards. When success is measured solely by profits or power, leaders may feel compelled to compromise their values to meet expectations. This trend can be observed in various sectors, from corporate greed leading to environmental destruction to political corruption that undermines democratic processes. Machiavelli's insights resonate here, as he understood that leaders operating in such systems often become ensnared in a cycle that blurs ethical lines. Psychological factors also play a critical role in the erosion of ethics. Concepts such as moral disengagement can explain how individuals rationalize unethical behavior in their pursuit of power. Leaders may convince themselves that their questionable actions serve a greater good or benefit their organization in the long run. This cognitive dissonance allows them to operate without guilt, further perpetuating a culture where ethics take a back seat to ambition. The Dunning-Kruger effect reappears in this context as well, where leaders may grossly misinterpret their moral compass, believing they are acting in the best interest of their followers when, in fact, they are not. The consequences of diminished ethics in leadership are profound. Organizations often suffer from low morale, diminished trust, and a toxic culture when leaders prioritize power over principles. Society as a whole faces dangerous ramifications, ranging from the erosion of public trust in institutions to widespread cynicism among the citizenry. The impact goes beyond individual organizations, affecting communities and the broader social fabric. In contrast, ethical leaders who prioritize integrity and transparency often achieve more sustainable success. They foster loyalty, inspire teams, and cultivate a positive organizational culture that leads to higher performance in the long run. Machiavelli's insights remind us that while a tactical approach to leadership may yield immediate results, the most effective leaders are those who can balance pragmatism with a commitment to ethical principles. As we reflect on Machiavelli's ideas and their implications today, it is clear that the lessons he provides remain relevant. In a world where the line between right and wrong continues to blur, we must strive for leadership that values ethics as much as efficiency. Balancing the need for power with a steadfast commitment to moral integrity may well be the hallmark of the leaders we need in the future. Traits hindering effective leadership. While Machiavelli's insights shed light on the political landscape, they also reveal deeper psychological barriers that can inhibit effective leadership. One of the primary obstacles leaders face is the Dunning-Kruger effect, a cognitive bias where individuals with low ability overestimate their competence. This phenomenon is particularly concerning in leadership roles, as those who lack the necessary skills for effective decision-making often possess an inflated sense of confidence. This can lead to catastrophic outcomes, not only for organizations but also for the broader society. Machiavelli understood that a leader's perceived confidence can be a double-edged sword. Leaders who exude certainty and decisiveness may gain followers and maintain power. However, this perceived competence can mask underlying incompetence. For instance, consider the case of various CEOs who have risen to prominence, yet made decisions rooted in ignorance or misinformation. Their inability to recognize their limitations can create an environment where poor choices flourish unchecked. On the opposite end of the spectrum lies the phenomenon known as imposter syndrome, where highly competent individuals doubt their abilities and fear being exposed as a fraud. This psychological pattern often leads to hesitation and a reluctance to take on leadership roles, despite possessing the necessary qualifications. Even skilled and insightful individuals may struggle to assert themselves in leadership positions, thus allowing less capable leaders to dominate. The interplay between these two psychological barriers, overconfidence and self-doubt, creates a complex landscape for leadership. While overconfident leaders may steer organizations towards risky and reckless decisions, those grappling with imposter syndrome may remain sidelined, underutilizing their potential. Furthermore, these traits affect organizational culture and decision-making processes. An environment dominated by overconfident leaders may stifle dissenting opinions and discourage constructive feedback as team members fear challenging authority. Conversely, organizations that empower individuals suffering from imposter syndrome can foster innovation and creativity if they learn to recognize and harness their strengths. Ultimately, for organizations to thrive, it is crucial to cultivate self-awareness among leaders. Encouraging environments where vulnerability is not only accepted but embraced can help strike a balance between confidence and humility. Organizations should prioritize training and development that promote emotional intelligence, critical thinking, and self-reflection. By addressing these psychological barriers head-on, organizations can empower effective leaders who possess the ability to make sound decisions, inspire teams, and navigate the complexities of modern leadership. Systemic issues in leadership. In addition to the individual traits that hinder effective leadership, Systemic issues within political and corporate structures contribute significantly to the emergence of incompetent leaders. Machiavelli pointed out that leaders often surround themselves with individuals who lack capability, leading to a system of governance that can perpetuate incompetence. This phenomenon, commonly referred to as yes men, creates an environment where critical thinking is stifled and accountability is diminished. One striking example of this dynamic can be observed in various political systems around the world. Political dynasties, families, or groups that repeatedly hold power often leverage their connections and acquaintances rather than merit to maintain authority. This results in a leadership structure that prioritizes loyalty over competence. In such environments, qualified individuals may be sidelined, while mediocrity becomes the norm. As Machiavelli advised, a wise leader should choose capable advisors who can provide valuable insight and counsel. However, the reality often shows that leaders choose those who reinforce their power, rather than those who offer constructive criticism. Moreover, corporate cultures can mirror these failures. Organizations that prioritize short-term profits and shareholder value frequently reward leaders based on immediate results rather than long-term sustainability. This systemic pressure leads to unethical practices, as leaders may engage in dishonest behavior to achieve quick gains. Think of the financial scandals that have rocked major corporations in recent years. When leaders prioritize results at all costs, the foundation of ethical decision-making crumbles. Additionally, inadequate accountability mechanisms within organizations further complicate matters. When leadership is insulated from consequences, there is little incentive to act responsibly. Machiavelli understood that leaders should foster an environment of transparency and accountability to ensure sound governance. Thus, systems must be designed to prevent the rise of incompetent leadership through checks and balances that encourage critical dialogue and evaluation. To address these systemic issues, organizations must prioritize transparency, inclusivity, and ethical governance. Implementing practices that encourage whistleblowing, providing training that promotes decision-making based on ethical considerations, and creating diverse leadership teams can foster an environment where capable leaders can thrive. By cultivating a culture of accountability and ensuring that leaders are selected for their competence rather than connections, organizations can break the cycle of mediocrity and incompetence that Machiavelli warned against. Solutions for ethical leadership. As we confront the challenges posed by incompetent leadership and the erosion of ethics, it becomes imperative to explore viable solutions that can foster leaders who are both effective and ethical. Machiavelli's insights provide a philosophical foundation, but it is essential to develop actionable strategies that create a more holistic approach to leadership. First, education plays a pivotal role in shaping future leaders. Integrating courses that emphasize critical thinking, ethical reasoning, and emotional intelligence into educational curricula can prepare individuals for the complexities of leadership. Programs that focus on case studies of historical leaders, both successful and unsuccessful, allow students to analyze decision-making processes and the consequences of actions taken in real-world scenarios. By developing a strong ethical foundation, aspiring leaders can better navigate the moral dilemmas they will inevitably face. Second, organizations must prioritize transparency and accountability at all levels. Implementing robust frameworks for governance that clearly outline expectations, roles, and responsibilities can help reduce ambiguity and encourage ethical behavior. Regular performance evaluations and feedback loops can ensure that leaders remain accountable for their decisions. Additionally, creating safe spaces for employees to voice concerns or challenge decisions can promote a culture of openness and collaboration. Third, organizations should consider establishing mentorship programs that connect emerging leaders with seasoned professionals. Mentorship can provide guidance and support to those navigating the complexities of leadership, fostering a generation of leaders who learn firsthand the importance of ethical considerations in their decision-making. Finally, leveraging technology can enhance transparency and accountability within organizations. Tools such as anonymous reporting systems and data analytics can help identify unethical behavior and promote a culture of accountability. Furthermore, leveraging social media platforms to engage with stakeholders can ensure that organizations remain responsive to public expectations and concerns. In conclusion, creating a culture of ethical leadership requires a multifaceted approach that includes education, transparency, accountability, mentorship, and technology. By implementing these solutions, we can combat the trend of mediocrity in leadership and foster a new generation of leaders who prioritize integrity, competence, and the common good. As we reflect on Machiavelli's teachings, it is clear that effective leadership does not have to come at the expense of ethics. The two can coexist when organizations appropriately cultivate the right environment. Through concerted efforts, we can forge a future where leadership is not only effective, but profoundly ethical. Thanks for watching our exploration of Machiavelli and ethics in leadership. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with friends to spark a conversation. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below discussing your views on leadership ethics. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our future content. Join our community by following us on social media for more insights. Let's work together to promote ethical leadership in our lives.